University's Center for Psychiatric Rehabilitation's goal is to connect our viewers with supportive resources in the community and to help individuals enhance their career development and overall well-being. Everyone can be successful with the right support.
In the last ditch, I think of you.
I think of you.
Yeah, in the last ditch, I will be true.
Good afternoon and welcome to Employment for All. My name is Kim Bisset and I'm here to help you get a job, change jobs, or advance in the job you currently have. Each week we look to bring you interesting and informative guests to help you enhance your career development or bring forth your overall well-being, and this week is no exception. I'd like to welcome Chandra and Heather Frohock, both from Youth Move of Massachusetts. Welcome.
Hi.
I'm very excited to have you here. So let's start off. Chandra, tell us about yourself.
Sure. As you said, I'm Chandra Watts. I'm the lead youth advocate from Youth Move Massachusetts, and I am a young adult with lived experience.
Great. We're happy to have you here.
And I'm Heather Frohock. I am also a youth advocate from Youth Move Mass, and I have PTSD and anxiety, so I also have the lived experience, except in a different way. I've never been involved with CBHI.
Okay. And CBHI is the
Children's Behavioral Health Initiative.
Absolutely. We're going to deal with a lot of what Mary calls, Mary from PAL is a lot of acronyms, or alphabet soup.
Yes.
So we're going to, as we bring them up, we will tell people about what they are. And PAL is the Parent Professional Advocacy League. So let's define what is Youth Move Massachusetts.
Sure. Youth Move Massachusetts is actually a chapter from Youth Move National, and we are a diverse group of youth, again, culturally, not just culturally, meaning from all walks of life, sorry about that. And we aim to kind of change how people see not just mental health, but stigma regarding mental health, judicial system, and things like aging out of foster care and stuff like that. So
Great. And really reaching out to all levels of different
Right.
kind of families, different kind of backgrounds, foster children, adopted children, people of different families, different makeup. It could be grandparents that are raising kids.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's really important to bring in all different levels and all
Right.
different experiences.
Right.
Fantastic. So let's talk about, you both got involved with Youth Move. Heather, how did you get started in Youth Move?
I actually got started last summer. I did an internship at Youth Move Mass, and I just decided to stay involved because I really thought it was cool how to be able to help give youth with mental health needs a place to have a supportive environment, talk about life, and share experience and stuff like that. So.
Right. And so you had such a kind of a positive internship experience that you're like, you want to stay involved and
Yeah.
continue to help make a difference.
Yeah.
Great. Chandra, how did you get started?
Sure. About 10 years ago, I was first diagnosed with depression, severe anxiety disorder, schizotypal disorder. And because my parents were looking for support, they found PAL, Parent Professional Advocacy League, and the first youth group, which was the Others, which is way before we were Youth Move Massachusetts. And because they felt that I needed the support, they kind of pushed me to do it. And well, apparently it worked out very well, and I've stuck with them for the past 10 years. So.
Great.
Right.
Well, that's important. Yeah. It sounds like you really like it.
I do.
Can you talk about what are some of the things you like about being part of Youth Move Massachusetts?
I love being part of Youth Move Massachusetts because I, again, am a young adult with lived experience, and I love to see the youth come in and get the support that they need, not just from PAL, but other youth that are going through what they are.
Right. And that's important to kind of help provide the support because you've been there, done that, and can have
Right.
unique insights into that.
Right.
Great. How about you, Heather? What draws you to stay connected?
Well, my favorite thing is just like the fact that the groups are so supportive and we can talk about anything. And there's so many unique and amazing people in the youth groups that I've met that I wouldn't know otherwise. And so I just think it's really nice to be able to connect with people in that way. And the groups, it doesn't even have to be about our mental health needs. It could be just about life. So it's really fun.
So it's just about being a young adult and connecting with other young adults.
Yeah.
That's a great point, that you might not come in contact with or know in the level that you do,
Right.
that are part of Youth Move. Oh, that's great.
So.
Okay. So Heather, let's talk about, there's a grant connected with some of the initiatives that Youth Move is doing, and it's called the Stay Together Grant.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Well, the Stay Together grant, the STAY stands for Success for Transition Age Youth. And the point of the grant, the goal rather, is to enhance the CBHI services for transition age youth, because we feel that they've been underserved, or some of them aren't being served at all. So they want to help solve that problem. So.
Fantastic. Now it's because let's talk about how did it originate? How did the Stay Together grant, the planning grant, come about?
Well, I know there was a lawsuit back in 2007 about a transition age youth who wasn't getting the services she needed, and out of that came the Children's Behavioral Health Initiative. And I guess just since then, I mean, a lot of the population has been served, but once youth get to that transition age, they age out, or they don't want the services or something like that, and they're just not getting served as well. So the purpose of the grant is to try to address that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Youth Move's role in it is they're helping to partner with the young adult and helping the young adults be the expert voice. Can you talk about that?
Sure. We're actually working on youth advisory groups. And as Youth Move, we are working with Framingham's Wayside, Springfield's Gandara, and Worcester's Community Health Link. And what the youth advisory groups are, we're getting a group of youth together to kind of talk about what they need in their areas as far as resources, and kind of to see why it is certain youth are not going to these CSAs, or Wayside, Gandara, or Community Health Link.
So, and why is it so important to ask the young adults themselves?
In my opinion, I believe it's important to ask them themselves, is because youth are the experts on themselves, and they don't really like to be told what to do. And they're gonna want a bigger say in their future, their treatment. So.
Right, and who really likes to be told what to do? No one. Someone
No,
tells you what
yeah.
to do, and you sometimes will go and do the opposite, just
Right.
because how could
Just
they know
because
what
they
I
said
want?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So we want to really reach out, and Pal has done an amazing job really at helping the youth develop their own voice, because
Right.
if you have no structure, well, how do you contribute? But to really make it a safe place for people to come and to share their voice and to expand their voice, really.
Exactly.
Now, in your experience you've worked with a tremendous amount of young adults. What do you think young adults are looking for?
Young adults are looking to be heard. They want their voices to be heard. They don't want their decisions to be made for them, and they don't want to be judged. A lot of times when they go to IEPs or treatment team meetings, they go into this room and it's full of professionals, and all these professionals look like they're judging them, and it's a great turnoff to even wanting services in the beginning anyway. So. Really just listening to us and not judging us is what we really want.
I think that's a great way to frame it, because no one really wants to be told what to do, and you don't want kind of a professional saying this is how things should go.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
I have a young son, and I don't like people to tell me what to do. I will reach out for a lot of supports and a lot of guidance in that, and I love to reach out. But when I'm asking for it, and if someone gives you unsolicited advice, it's usually not welcome.
Right.
And a lot of our young adults, unfortunately, have been inundated with a lot of unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I also think that another thing that I would want personally is to find some kind of balance between, first of all, don't view me as just being a person with a mental illness.
Yes.
But like a balance between that and understanding that things are different for me
Yes.
because I have mental illness.
Right.
Like,
you can't ignore it.
Like, don't ignore it, but don't see that just that.
Right. You are so much
So,
more than your mental
yeah.
illness, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard, and we have to train a lot of people, because there's such a stigma that people can only see the mental health issues,
Yeah.
or it's a hidden disability, they don't see anything at all. And there's kind of a disconnect, and that disconnect can be very hurtful to the person that's happening to, because either someone can, if you figure out what kind of support you need, then you can be successful, and that's kind of that is the mantra of our show, is everyone can be successful with the right supports. But it's helping determine that, seeing the person, the whole person for they are, the strengths, the wonderful parts of that person, but also where they need the supports. And I think that's where the kind of stigma busting comes in and the awareness piece comes in. Well, you're fantastic at A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, but you need help when it comes to H, and it's got to be okay for you to be able to ask it. And it doesn't make you less of a person. Everyone needs different supports. So I think that's the message that Youth Move, I think, is really good at communicating. You want to add to that, Chandra?
It's pretty straightforward.
Right. It's right on in terms of kind of thinking about how do we do that and how do we find that out, because everyone needs supports. I kid that I'm directionally challenged, and it doesn't mean I can't get places, but when I go places, I love to have my GPS. I usually have directions printed out because sometimes that GPS makes that horrible noise that says out of area, we can't do this. So I have the backup, but I still get to lots of different places, and I travel around the state and sometimes around New England to train and travel and consult. But it doesn't mean that I'm less than, it just means I need particular supports to be successful, to get places on time. So it's what are those strategies, and I think PAL does a wonderful job of helping young adults figure out what they need to be successful.
Right.
Can we talk about some of the support groups that they do? Chandra,
Some of the youth groups that we have, sure.
Absolutely.
We have 4 youth groups currently. HOPE, which stands for Helping Others Promote Equality. We have YOU, which is You Are One of Us. TEMA, that's our Speakers Bureau, where youth are kind of learning to kind of speak in a panel type of setting, talking about, you know, their experiences and stigma. And then we've got YAYA, which is Young Adult and Youth Advocacy, and that's our transition age youth group, where they're having different speakers come in talking about you know, how to fill out a resume or FAFSA forms, going to a college, even like learning to sit in for a job interview as well. So, right.
Okay. So different professional skills, life skills, and social skills, kind of all in one. And it's driven by the youth. The youth get to decide who, when, how they come in.
Youth voice and choice.
Youth voice and choice. Okay, I like it. Very cool. Now, you guys are partnered with the grant, particularly because you have these groups and because you're extremely good at listening to youth voice and helping it promote forward.
Right.
How, if we say to Heather, why should a young adult be part of this grant? Why, if they're watching, they're kind of sitting on the couch and they're kind of, well, why would I get involved with a grant? Because isn't, you know, they might be thinking, well, it's bureaucracy or it's a grant and are things going to change? Why would it, what's in it for them?
Right. Well, I think it's just part of like being a part of something that could affect so much more than just you, and having a chance to actually change your world, and I just and we give you supper. That's always a big, we always have to say that because it's always a big draw. Everyone loves pizza.
That's right. Food is a big incentive to getting people there, and it's fun to hang out and eat pizza with young adults who have similar experiences.
Because it will have the same feel as any of our youth groups. It'd be just this fun, supportive, kind of like mini family-like environment, and it's a really good opportunity to make a difference, in not just your life, but in a lot of other people's lives too. So
it's a great way to kind of connect with other people, but also to connect to something larger than themselves, because it won't influence you guys in terms of services, because you'll be beyond the age when kind of these things hopefully are implemented. But you can inspire other young adults, and they can be kind of a driving force to make changes so that some of the young adults don't have to go through some of the roadblocks and hopefully experience less of the stigma that you guys have confronted.
Right.
So that's a key piece. Now, if someone, Chandra, wanted to get involved with a YAG, I think that's a funny name, it's very fun, the young adult groups, how do they do it?
Well, they could contact me if they want to get involved in the Wayside, Framingham area, Springfield, Gandara area, or Community Health Link, Worcester area. So I'll just give my email. If people are very interested and want some information, that would be cwatts@ppal.net, so ppal.net.
Great. And what would be kind of, they say, okay, well, what am I signing up for? So they take place at each of those 3 places that you mentioned.
Right.
Gandara, HealthLink, and Framingham, the
Wayside.
Right. And they might just come, and the first time they can just kind of check out a meeting and see who's there, who's showing up, and what do you do.
Right. And they can also, you know, after, you know, emailing me, they can set up a phone chat to talk with me and meet with me via maybe Skype even.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that'd be something I'd be willing to do if they're really that interested. So.
Okay, so they could do an initial phone call, initial Skype kind of.
Sure.
What's it like, or even just initial email, like, let me find out more about it.
Right.
So that's great. That's fantastic. And why do you think it's so important for the youth to to have this voice in this grant?
Because it's for them, and we want youth voice because these are changes that we're trying to make for youth, and if we don't have youth voice, then we don't know what they want.
Right, absolutely. It's like trying to buy a gift for someone you don't know.
Right.
You're like, well, okay, there's so much more room for error.
Right.
So if we get the youth voice and the choice in there, then we're so much more likely to link up the services to what they're looking for.
Exactly.
And the providers will pay much more attention to a youth saying it. Because we could think what we wanted, but how often have we thought about what someone else wanted and we missed the mark entirely?
Again, the youth is the expert on themselves.
Right.
They are all the experts on themselves. They know what they want, and they know, generally what they need. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Heather, if we talked about kind of what would be your advice to a young adult who's kind of starting out in their recovery and they're starting to develop their resiliency, what advice would you give them?
The best advice I can give is that if you need help, then ask for it. And if someone's offering you help, don't turn it away just because you want to be able to do it yourself. I mean, there's some things you can do yourself and you should do yourself, but there are some things that you need another person, and you need the support of another person, and just to be not alone.
Right.
And regardless of whether or not you actually think you need help doing it, having another person's help, like just being there, that can mean the difference between recovering and not.
Yes.
And so that's just my thing. If you need help, ask for it, and if you're being offered help, take it.
Right, and there's so much support that happens even being part of it. And so many other fields it's come to quicker. I mean, there's a lot of cancer support groups, there's running support groups. If you're having trouble in the morning, like, I can't get up to the running group, knowing that other people are going to be there, out there tying on their shoes, putting on their parkers early in the morning, or parent support groups, golf support groups, buying your own home. One of the best courses I ever took was how to buy your own home, because it's can be for some people, myself included, an overwhelming process. But when you sit with other people in the room, and then different experts, mortgage people show up, financing people show up, they walk you through the process, home inspectors, so you say, oh wow, if you break it down step by step, and then you also have successful homeowners come in and they say, this is what I did, this is how I got my credit report, this is how I examined this is how I prepared for that. You're so much more comfortable with the process, and you learn strategies from people who have been through it, and also people who know kind of the expertise in the field. And it's interesting to me that it's come later to mental health, but it's now kind of on fire in mental health, doing a very good thing of helping young adults connect with other young adults, and they listen much more to young adults, which I think is a key piece. Do you want to add anything to that, Chandra?
Sure. The thing that I always like to leave people with, and I do panels, and this has kind of become like a tagline, and I don't mean it to, but it's just so, it hits home with me. Something that my parents kind of taught me and kind of instilled in me is that I'm not my mental illness. So what I really like to leave people with is you're not your mental illness, and there's more to life and more to you than what you've been diagnosed with.
Absolutely, because I think some people, when they first are diagnosed, they kind of shut down, and they're kind of like,
Right.
oh, does this mean I can't have a relationship, I can't have my own place, I can't graduate from school, I can't. And what I think the young adult groups do successfully, especially PAL and Youth Move, in their own way, is help parents, but also help youth to see there is more to life. You can learn strategies to be successful. The world is open to you, but you just have to learn, well, how do I navigate around this?
Exactly.
How do I manage the obstacles? How do I reach out for support successfully? And how do I develop the leadership skills in a way to advocate for my own life? You have to
Right.
learn kind of how to advocate in your own life. Heather, do you want to add anything to that? No. Okay. In terms of kind of thinking about what makes sense, what do you see as advocacy skills? Can we talk a little bit about the leadership skills that PAL has focused on? Well, actually, more Youth Move, actually.
Sure. We've had, tons of speakers come in, and we've done some trainings kind of where people have come in and kind of taught us different skills to kind of go out and speak, and, what to share, what not to share, so as not to share too much. And so we've done a ton of that.
Great. No, that's important. And you've done something called strategic sharing.
Strategic sharing, yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We had two people come in, I think it was maybe 2 summers ago, and they kind of, basically what I just said, they basically kind of taught us, how to share our story in a way that's not going to hurt us, hurt others, in a very professional way, so that is, again, is not to give out too much information about ourselves, too much information about people who might, you know, be in our stories as well too. So
Right, and that's a key piece, because I think also sometimes we're in a clinical, if you're used to being in a clinical setting, you're used to kind of sharing everything about yourself, and then you go to the next place, someone says, how are you? And you say, well, actually, and it's way too much knowledge about what you're feeling, and they were just asking kind of, how are you? Or they might have just been asking kind of one level of depth, so being able to figure out what to share, how to share, when to share it, and also to share it in a way that doesn't like weigh people down, because you can share your story in a way that inspires and gives some details, but not kind of tells too much.
right, you don't want to go into like a conference that you're speaking to and kind of share too much and give off, you know, a scary part of your story that's going to traumatize people when they leave. So
Right, exactly. There's a way to tell, this is what I've experienced. It was a great depth of challenge, but this is how I'm moving forward. This is how I'm dealing with it. And I think that really helps people see the both sides of it without giving too much information that people really don't need to know.
Exactly.
So that's a critical piece. And I think that's part of leadership too, kind of, and that's part of kind of advocacy. It all ties hand in hand. It's kind of it sounds like Youth Move Massachusetts prepares kind of the whole individual.
Right.
So I think that's a key piece. Very good. Are there any final thoughts as we wrap up? Heather, do you have any further thoughts to encourage that young adult that's thinking about, maybe I want to be on the grant, to think about, encourage them to be involved? I know the pizza's a big draw.
Yeah, of course. No, I just think the more youth that we have, the better it's going to turn out in the long run. So, I mean, if you're thinking about it, please just contact Chandra and, you know, talk about actually getting involved, because we would really love to have you guys.
Yeah, no, diversity of voices I think is huge, because if we only have a certain group of young adults that are from a certain sector, then other young adults might be underrepresented and we won't meet their needs.
Exactly.
And the more youth that we serve, the better we can serve everyone.
Right.
Fantastic. Is there anything, Chandra, you want to add to that?
I think it's a great cause to get behind, especially if you've been wanting to kind of get involved in giving back in the mental health field, and you feel like you have a voice and you feel like you have ideas. Definitely get involved.
Absolutely. And your voice and your ideas will definitely be heard and validated, and that's a wonderful thing when you're a young adult. It's a wonderful thing, anyone, but particularly if you're a young adult, and that will help you develop your voice further and enhance your overall development, whatever you decide to go on to be. So fantastic. Thank you very much, Chandra Watts, for being with us today, and Heather Frohock. We really appreciate all your insights and all your thoughts that you shared with us.
And thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to say thank you to our audience once again for tuning into Employment for All, where everyone can be successful with the right supports. And we'd like you to look out for that special someone that might just be in need of an extra support or extra attention to reach their full potential. We'd like to say thank you to the Department of Mental Health for supporting us and our show to be the best show we can be. And this is Kim Bisset saying have a wonderful afternoon. Take care.